Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the House to order for our next technical session and requesting everybody to come up front and make the hall look more crowded than it already is. So looking forward to start in the next 1 minute. Many thanks everybody for joining us on a cold December morning for what I think will be a warm discussion to make us feel warmer and more cozy in this hall. I would like to invite our esteemed panel, and I think everybody is here right now. So, welcoming on stage Ashwini Acharya, Head Priority Sector Lending, DBS Bank India. Mr. Acharya, you are here? Yeah, please. Looking forward to having you on the stage. A nice round of applause for all our panelists will help them reach the stage faster. Thank you. Looking forward to having Smita Singhal, Founder and Director, Absolute Water. Mr. Ganesh Narayanan, Chief Executive Officer, Credit Access Grameen. Mr. Manoj Golati, Regional Director, South Asia, Water.org. And our most wonderful and deft moderator, Bonani. Bonani Roy Chaudhary is Chief Executive Officer, NAP Samruddhi Limited. And she will take us through this warm, engaging conversation where all of us will be adequately nudged today, 12th December 2024, as part of our technical session on water and sanitation finance. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you, Teresa, and heartfelt thanks to Water.org and Access Development Services for having me here. And that was a moderator. So absolutely great to be here, and greetings to all the esteemed panelists, leaders in the respective field in the WASH space. So this panel is a very relevant one today. Access to WASH, the cornerstone for achieving social upliftment and climate resilient objectives. So this is one area that we at NAP Samruddhi have been working in very intensively in the last 3 years. And we have, in fact, emerged, WASH, lending for WASH, it has emerged as a champion segment. So we know why, because the demand pool is huge from the rural areas, from the rural women. They are very aspirational, and the impetus that was provided because of the government's programs also, the Jal Jeevan Mission, the Swachh Bharat Mission, and even the Amrut, these have been very effective in transforming the lives and livelihoods of the communities in the rural, semi-urban, and the peri-urban areas. And at NAP Samruddhi, since the last 3 years, we have seen immense growth which was boosted by the special concessionary refinance from our parent NABARD. So we are a subsidiary of NABARD. We are an NBFC, mainly providing wholesale debt for non-agricultural sector in a ESG, with a ESG focus. So green and wellness finance is a focus area under which WASH is the prime focus today, and we have been supported hugely from technical support agencies, especially knowledge partner like Water.org. We signed a MOU with them 3 years back, and ever since we never had to look back. It's been a great partnership as well. And we have also emerged as the largest wholesale debt funder for WASH among NBFCs in the country, covering all the sectors, that is microfinance, MSME, housing, and also the entire risk spectrum, because we have also relaxed our policies to cover the unrated entities who have a reach in the remote rural areas. So through them, we could reach the last mile as well. We have been able to deploy more than 400 crore of debt funding through 34 partner clients. Many of them we could bring into the fold through our ecosystem building efforts. And we have reached more than 1 lakh end borrowers, 90% of whom are women. And our learnings from the field is that WASH lending has had a transformational effect on the lives and livelihoods of the communities, and especially the women, because it addressed their needs in terms of their safety, dignity, their health, income, empowerment, as well as quality of life. And this was supported by the various missions of the government towards SDG 6. There have been a lot of socio-cultural changes, habit changes that has happened. And the MSMEs in the space are also contributing hugely. We have Smita with us today. So the startups and the MSMEs, which also got support, like they could really come into the field in a large way because of SBM2 and the Amrut schemes. So they have been coming up with very innovative solutions for wash, especially towards climate smart wash, because this is the need of the hour, because we have recognized that when we finance generic wash, these are not only unsustainable, they can even be harmful in the backdrop of extreme weather events which are climate induced. So there is a two-way nexus between climate and unsafe wash. So we had launched the Climate Ready Wash Finance program last year, and ever since then, we have moved ahead, created a lot of capacities and a lot of awareness, skill building, and a few pilots are underway as well. And we are now trying to actively finance the WASH MSMEs. We have faced some challenges there, some market failures, which will be discussed today in the session. So on that note, if we look at the session objectives, very relevant again. So first of all, the session will explore actionable strategies to address the funding gaps. The funding gaps are huge, and I think Manoj will throw a lot of light on that. Then ensure equitable access to wash, not just for the women here. We are also talking about other genders, the disabled, the aged, so all the marginalized, and including the sanitation workers. We know their plight, and it's their grim realities are something which is very, very disturbing for the social consciousness. And right now, we are also working with India Sanitation Coalition to find out if they can be funded by forming nano enterprises so that they come into the formal funding fold. And then promote sustainable practices for lasting impact on public health. This we are seeing, like whether it is through reduction in health expenditure or actual productivity. So there's a lot of change in the net disposable income that WASH can contribute to, more during the discussion. And of course, economic growth, because not unsafe WASH is a huge, huge loss to the economy. This has been proved through various studies. So with that, coming to the questions that we will be addressing today, my first question will be to Manoj. So Manoj, water.org has been instrumental in taking forward financing for WASH all over, like in many countries, but especially in India. We have seen very effective support from water.org to the financial sector. And in your opinion, uh, like we have seen a lot of financial barriers as well. There are funding gaps as well. So why is breaking financial barriers in WASH crucial for addressing India's broader development goals? And what do you think has been the most significant challenge so far?
Thank you, Bunani, and very good morning to everyone. Yes, indeed, this is always exciting to talk about WASH as part of climate and as part of the journey that India is evolving into. Where does water and sanitation fit into it, and how it's important across all the SDGs? So let me try to very quickly paint some color to by numbers of where it is. SDG 6, which is basically water and wash, is the most connected of all the SDGs. It's connected with, out of the total, with 8 SDGs directly and with another 5 SDGs indirectly, which makes it extremely connected SDG. What it also has is, but at the same time, if you look at it, the total funding that comes in for SDG 6 that is required is around $113 billion every year. And currently, this is global number I'm talking. And currently around 30 billion, 28 to 30 billion gets mobilized. This gap between the $118 and $118 billion and $30 billion is actually the financial gap, which is not going to allow projects to be completed and even initiated successfully. So effectively, we can also say that the wash problem is a financial problem. And by addressing this side, the financial aspects, we can do it. The good news on the other side is that investors have started to finally, climate has started to take a main stage presence in conversations. Wash is a very small component of the climate component. Only 3% of the climate funding goes to wash. That conversation has started to happen. People have now started to realize that you cannot solve climate problems, climate adaptation problems, mitigation problems without addressing water problems. And so we are very excited that in the next few years, more financeable opportunities will be coming through over here. So, what are some of the challenges? And I'll very quickly give you a few examples. I think the challenges are both at, and traditionally came both at the financial side, which was initially, if you look, go back in the journey, in getting it onto the priority sector lending was one of the challenges which we had to go through. But today it is on it. Unfortunately or fortunately, the good side is it's on it. The it's a very small part of it. Agri takes most of the funding. So how do you make your presence felt when the big elephant in the room takes most of the funds away? That's the real challenge for it. How do you convert that into thing? So one of the ways to look into is, and in active talks with RBI, that, sir, can we have an opportunity to sublimit this climate? And if climate is there, then can water be part of it? We know that equation can fit in. So that's a very good position that we like to be into. And that will actually activate a lot of the financial institutions to think accordingly. We're talking about, areas of, from an operational point, I think we solved a lot of the issues. For instance, most people felt that water and sanitation is a one-time loan at best. But today we have come to recognize that it is part of the journey of the woman at the base of the pyramid. For them, today it could be a project which is to renovate their toilet. Tomorrow it could be to put a tank and to put or maybe to have a roof rainwater harvesting project. A third day it could be having to make sure that their pump is there, and if they have a solution with that, a solar pump, for instance. These are the kind of solutions that I think we'll be building across in the years to come. And so when you look at it as a portfolio, we found that over the years, our repeat clients for our partners was around 2.5. That means nearly three times the same once the ease of lending was happening. One time you got it, you got the client to understand, and then it just kept going on. And lastly, I think there was a lot of talk about in terms of, I'll give you an example. Gopaji from Indian Bank, for instance, they did what we initiated with the help of Jayshilan sir is the idea of having the BC lending. This is the liability BC lending to happen. So that's opening, that's a barrier because we were not being able to take it to the next level. And by doing liability lending training, today we are opening it up. We are opening it up by doing making WASH as an integral part of the bird training program, which ma'am is so familiar with, and that's helped in building new set of people, bankers and FI, to come in and get trained on it. And I think that's the kind of barriers we want to break at this stage. I think I've covered quite a few grounds. I'll give it back to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manoj. I think, yes, that really gives an overview of where we are and how things have moved ahead as far as wash financing is concerned. Of course, yes, there are challenges, there are gaps, but I would say a lot of ground is already being covered. And it's because of the tireless efforts of all the stakeholders in the field, both state as well as non-state actors. And especially the demand side, we see where the women really need, like Manoj was saying, all these basic services, and it's coming through the mostly the microfinance institutions and the HFCs. But now again, we have microfinance, the entire sector is in turmoil, there is stress. So Ganesh, my next question comes to you, that as a market leader in microfinance for WASH, could you share your experience in scaling the WASH loans? And additionally, do you see the WASH portfolio contributing to direct business benefits such as your portfolio quality? And how does it enhance the resilience for MFIs in these turbulent times? Because obviously the stress is everywhere right now. So does WASH take a backseat? Or instead, is it seen as something that can sustain the communities in the long run?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Very good morning to all of you. Firstly, I think for us, this journey of WASH financing is quite long. I think we've been a part of this journey since 2011. And over a period of time, so much has been accomplished, so much has changed overall in the country as well as in the microfinance space, including the WASH finance as such, right? So when we first started, I think we had to put in a lot of effort with the communities to even make them aware of what is this concept. We had to work with panchayats to bring awareness, even to propagate this kind of financing is available, etc. Right, over the last, I think last 13, 14 years, I think the company has been able to achieve significant milestones. Approximately, we would have done around 2,500 crores of disbursements. We've done something like 17 lakh toilet constructions through us, roughly around 3.5 lakh water connections through us. I think overall, as a microfinance institution, we have been evolving our products around customers' life cycle needs, and this type of financing naturally fit into our scheme of things. And how we position it to our customers is also, since this is a very important product that we want to propagate, we price this product lower than our normal loans that we offer to them. And we also ensure that these loans are slightly longer in tenor to ensure that their EMIs are low. Because if they have to avail this, it should not pinch them, because it is not in the top of the priority for them at different points of time, different states, different geography basis their economic situations. So when the load is smaller on them, the adoption is far better. And there is a natural need for this product across all geographies, right? So I remember my childhood when I used to pump water. We don't do it anymore, right? So I think as the country is moving up, even in rural India, we are seeing that there is a lot of change happening, especially in developed states, say the southern states, the Maharashtra states. Like Manoj said, people are now moving from basic toilets to, improving things better. They want overhead storage tanks. They want to absorb solar in how they consume water. A lot of things that we want are naturally coming in with the overall progress that the country has made, right? And because we work very, very closely with the customer, we design products in such a way that is extremely important to them. We do offer a plethora of products, not just one, but then everything that they need, right from a medical emergency to something like a water connection. Then the customers' affinity to the institution is far stronger. And we've always seen they've held us in high regard. So today, we offer the lowest priced microfinance solution in the country. Again, we offer lower for important products like this, for education, for water, for sanitation. We price it lower, and we make it very convenient for customers to kind of take care of it. So even at tough times, we've seen, like you said, microfinance is in stress. I think microfinance as a business is never stress free, right? It's some point or other, because you work with vulnerable communities and you work in very difficult geographies. At least somebody like us who works only in rural, stress is a part of our life, right? I think over the last 30 years, institutions have learned how to handle it. We go through cycles, I would say, instead of stress. And typically, you've seen in all cycles, microfinance has come back faster than any other sector, right? Because you're meeting something that the customer wants. It's like saying suddenly there's shortage of food, or somebody has borrowed for for very essential purposes, but if it is not coming back, as long as the demand is strong, the sector would come back, right? So the core of microfinance is that we meet the needs of customers that is unmet by anybody else, right? So while you work on products that are relevant to the customers and also design it in such a way that it is extremely friendly to them, they also keep you in high regard. And even in tough times, I'm certain that we will come back faster than anybody else. And this sector would prove once again that it is very, very resilient, and it has a right mix. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ganesh, for those very positive vibes that you set in the hall. And yes, that's the story of microfinance. And it's a great thing to know because where it comes to wash as a product, microfinance being one of the, like the actual channel through which most of us work, there was some concern. But to hear such, positive expectations from you, this is excellent. So as a follow-up question, how do you envision the growth and significance of the wash finance portfolio over time? And can this create greater opportunities for the adoption and scaling of climate resilient wash products through MFIs? Right now, we are focusing a lot on rainwater harvesting, especially recharge, solar powered pumps for the pipe water connections, and of course, flood resilient or drought resilient sanitation. So, what is your view on this?
Right. I think that will be next growth area for us. There is a lot of awareness amongst institutions as well as customers to many of these aspects. You would also see that we are going through climate change, and we've seen even in the last year places where it's not supposed to rain is raining more, right? Time when we are not supposed to get rain, we are getting rain. And it is very important for our customers to also build solutions around this, because in such extreme natural calamities, people don't get access to proper water, proper sanitation. I think that is a journey that will gather a lot of momentum going forward. We would use expertise from a lot of partners like water.org, and we would try and devise solutions that are apt and important for our customers. I believe this journey, while we've done 13, 14 years so far, it would still catch a lot of momentum going forward. There will be continuous scope for doing different things in this segment. But I think we have to invest time to understand what is changing at ground and come up with solutions that are extremely important for our customer segment, which we have initiated. And I think very qualified partners are helping us, and hopefully we should do it well going forward.
Thank you, Ganesh. That really sums up the future expectations on these lines, where a lot of redesigning or rethinking needs to come in. And given that more than two-thirds of India's districts are climate vulnerable, there is a need to do a lot more in that. So I think main thing is that we all work together, the partnerships among the stakeholders. It really, we have seen a lot of effective results on that front. So looking forward to many such initiatives. With that, I'll come to Ashwini. Ashwini, DBS Bank has been active in wholesale lending to FIs for wash purpose. So from your perspective, what role do financial institutions like DBS play in breaking the financial barriers for wash projects in India?
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. So, let me share my personal views on why banks go for lending, wholesale lending, in fact. So, I think there are three aspects to it. One is definitely the commercial reasons of of wholesale lending. Second, and the most important, I feel, is the priority sector targets which banks carry, and banks actually struggle on the PSL side. Third is the new aspect, which is nowadays it is the ESG angle, or the ESG targets or goals which many banks or institutions are nowadays carrying. So these three important reasons why banks go for wholesale lending. So we are, as a DBS also, we are no different. Now coming to our journey, I'll just give a short, like we are into the partnership with water.org for last 3 years. The journey has been fantastic, even though we had industry is going through a crisis, but I think there is no difference in terms of income generating loan or a wash loan. Behavior is same, I will say a notch better here. And maybe one of the reason for it is that the customers who usually go for wash loans, I think they have little more diversity in income. So maybe multiple source of income which actually help them to take a decision to upgrade their toilet or go for a water connection. Maybe that might be the reason. Even though the money is not used for income generating purposes, still the repayments are coming better even in today's crisis. So that gives another comforting factor. Now coming to the aspects of MFI lending or the NBFC lending, as you all know, MFI has a cap of 5% where it gets restricted, whereas MFI there is no cap. So the government wants the fund flow go uninterrupted to the bottom of the pyramid. So MFIs, I don't think so will have any challenge in terms of wholesale funding for on lending to the end customers. So that journey is going to continue even though crisis will come and go. We have seen so many cycles.
Thank you. I think that gave again a lot of hope to the entire sector coming from a wholesale lender. And one point that you mentioned is the performance. Repayment performance is better. We realize that the women are very proud and happy about the wash loan. They said, "ये हमारा अपना अपने लिए है, ये मेरे लिए है." Whereas the IGL, वो मेरे मर्द के लिए है. So because they are aspirational and because they are happy, again, they are very, very sure that there should be no repayment issues with this. So we have seen this across all most of our partners that the repayment performance is better in WASH, which is a great thing. And as a follow-up to that question, given your experience in priority sector lending, what innovations or financial structure do you believe are essential to encourage MSMEs and utilities to participate actively in the WASH ecosystem development? Because some of your loans might be going through other NBFCs towards WASH MSMEs as well. And one more aspect which I thought of asking you as a wholesale lender is that ultimately the wholesale lender is not able to monitor the end borrower so much. It is always through the financial institution that you support. So given that sometimes we build in concessions in the wash loan, is there a scope for washing? Is there a scope for end use? Have you faced end use issues in wash lending?
As of now, I mean, we have done few visits and all, so I don't think so. End use has not been a challenge because, of course, we work as of now with the top 15 MFIs in the country, where the systems and process end use monitoring are quite robust. So we have not faced that as a challenge. But overall, for the vast ecosystem, it is quite evolving. I will give you one data. I mean, it's my experience I have seen. This year, the wash loans pickup has been slow. Maybe because of MFI disbursement, maybe one reason. But another reason, what I have seen in my last few visits to different parts of the country, because of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, I have seen you have. Every house has almost a toilet. So one step we have reached. Toilet building is done. Now I think the next step will be like with Jal Jeevan mission and Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. I think piped connection, taking loans for piped connection to washrooms as well as kitchen. This will be an evolving aspect. And then home improvement loans, I was talking to few of the affordable housing companies. They are saying now this home improvement loans mostly is going towards upgradation of toilets. So we are into evolving phase. From first we had a basic toilet. Now I think with that almost done. Now, as Manoj said rightly, we are upgrading. There is a scope of upgradation, and with climate change aspects coming into picture, and India also we are looking at a Bikasit Bharat dream of 2047. I think all this is aligned. Unless the vast landscape improves continuously and there is fund flow, the dream of 2047 will also not happen. So it is all aligned in one direction.
Wonderful. That was really very, very insightful, Ashwini. And to add to what you said, piped water connections, we have met borrowers who have been given piped water connection loans through MFIs, and they are very happy with that because they found that the time they used to spend earlier in fetching or storing water, the water connection might be provided at the doorstep. but the piped water connection has to be set up by themselves. So the loans that came in for that, it spared a lot of time for them, which was then being deployed for income generating activity. So this was one direct impact of WASH that we felt on income and empowerment. So that's a really beautiful story that we have there. And now I'll come to the demand side of the picture. We have always on the supply side now. Coming to Smita. Smita, you have been heading like steering Absolute Water, and it focuses on cutting edge green technologies for water recovery and sewage treatment. In fact, we have gone through some of your presentations where the circular economy concepts that you have built in are absolutely fabulous. So, how do your innovations address India's wash challenges, particularly those faced by women? And how can gender focused solutions be more effectively integrated into this segment? So, we are looking at climate and gender both here.
Thanks, Banani ma'am, and good morning. So, I mean, the first we've been talking about pipe water connections and loans against pipe water connections, and women are very happy. But we do have a very far larger population of women who are still going and walking, and more so ever, I think the even children who are females. I don't know, fortunately or what. I mean, unfortunately, the entire responsibility lies on them. So, like a solution like Absolute Water, we are able to ensure a sustainable and decentralized access. We're able to get clean water to their homes, and they don't have to walk those distances. So, that is, and we're able to kind of kill that whole gap in between for the inadequate water supply. And we're talking about clean water supply. So be it through a mobile unit, or be it through through a sort of a modular unit which is in and around the area, which can feed anytime between 100 to 500 people at any given point of time. So that's one point of improved water accessibility. Then we're talking about sanitation infrastructure. We're currently been talking about water connections. We're talking about Har Ghar Jal. We're talking about, but sanitation is still one point I feel. I mean, it's almost like the adopted child. I kind of feel that's always the thing. I'm hoping we become like, mainstream at some point. But it's, where the maximum amount of health risks do come from bad sanitation. It's as simple as that. Even if your own home in an urban environment, if your pipes are clogged or your toilets are clogged, you're not gonna. It becomes a very alarming situation in the house, and you're quickly calling the plumber. So it's the same situation in the rural area where things are collecting in soak pits, or they're collecting in, they're not even man-made sewage drains. There is no formalization of any kind of sewage flow. So it's all collecting in front of their own homes. So obviously that is, increasing the rate of health and typhoid and, children. A lot of kids can't even go to school because of that. So, that again is a solution that we're able to ensure safe sanitations in schools, in workplaces, public spaces, and more importantly at community level. So we're not only giving you clean water, but we're also improving sanitation by uh, treating pollution right at the same point. Then, of course, we're talking about when we're talking about inclusivity. In that kind of terms, it would be great if we would consider engagement, community engagement. When I talk about community engagement, specifically aimed at women, to manage and maintain wastewater sanitation systems. So if we're trying to talk about loans, we're talking about MFIs towards women to set up toilets in their home. The same thing can be done for sanitation units where they can operate it themselves. They're not only operating it for themselves but for the community as well. So if we set up systems which are close to homes where we can do modular systems, and not just me, I mean, it's any innovation like mine in wastewater treatment or decentralized wastewater treatment, where any, a cluster of 10 homes can be addressed at the same point of time. So if women run that, and women, it's income generating, They're also cleaning their homes, which they're anyway doing, but they're just doing it in a more formalized way and they're gaining income.
Excellent. I think this is where the SHGs can be really roped
Yes.
in. In fact, SHGs have been roped in for this kind of work
Correct.
in many of the villages we have seen. They're doing absolute great work where it comes to waste management or water recycling is concerned and managing that as
Yes.
well. So I think this is an excellent suggestion from
Thank
your
you. And of course, like we're talking about microfinance as well. So opportunities for women, again, to manage them. So that's where I feel that, innovation like mine and many others like mine are able to kind of deal with gender, are equal to, we're doing gender, we're doing clean water, we're doing sanitation. So yeah, I mean, that's what I
Great,
would
yeah. I think where MFIs are giving individual loans under the group mode, JLG, here we are talking about more like a SHG kind of a model, and that's excellent. And this is very relevant because where we look at climate change, women end up bearing a very disproportionately larger burden of that change because they are culturally responsible for the food, the water, the caregiving. It affects them very badly. So that's why when we design these products, the women has to be central to it, just like women are central to inclusive finance as well.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And Smita, as a follow-up, as an entrepreneur in the water sector, I think we have been facing a lot of challenges in trying to finance MSMEs and
All the
startups
time.
in the water sector, being a nascent sector, a lot of market failures. So, what policy or financial interventions do you think are needed to encourage more businesses to venture into the wash space? It's your wish list.
My wish list. Wow. I think I'll be speaking on behalf of a lot of people here. There's a whole population out there. But yeah, I mean, one would definitely be about, regulatory simplifying licensing. Because the thing is that I think everything is so, and I'll be very honest here. People, I mean, the MSMEs or businesses like mine, we're not very financially knowledgeable. Like, I'm listening to DBS, I'm listening to everybody else, and I'm like, I don't even know these things exist, very honestly. And we've been talking about this a lot as a community of innovators, that we would love for us to know what is really available out there, and to have it on not just on a conference scale once a year, but on a regular. I think Manoj knows that far better. So yeah, I mean, and it's basically licensing and approval processes, because it gets very document heavy, and that kind of scares us. Let's just be honest about it. And then about developing risk sharing mechanisms, right? For specifically for private partnerships, because there are a lot of private innovators out there like myself, and I mean, we're constantly talking about, okay, every year, oh, how much profit have you made, what losses are you into? So I mean, the thing is, we are also working a lot with the government, and we would really appreciate if the government also kind of sticks to their contractual obligations of giving payments on time, and that is a common factor across all of us. I think that is one massive sound we all speak in. And the other thing that was about incentivizing innovation. So when I talk about incentivizing, it is about obviously creating more platforms for piloting, because there are a lot of innovations and innovators out there that we should be prioritized. Technologies like mine, or like many of us, should be prioritized, especially with that align with sustainability goals, not just in general. Because I think everywhere we are trying to, like Manoj said, we're trying to do, we go across 13 SDGs. It is not just one, it's not just six. And promote a gender equity for sure in WASH policies, and ensuring women's participation in decision making, because we are doing that anyway on the ground level. So why not up there?
Great,
And more
Smita.
importantly,
So I think I'll just cut in here because I'll come.
sorry,
to
it was just one last
Okay.
point, was priority access to land for setting up wastewater treatment plants. That was my last point. Sorry, thank you.
So, more than a wish list, it becomes action planning for all of us. And yes, very relevant because these are the issues we are actually facing when we are trying to finance WASH MSMEs. Some of these would be at government level, but some of these, many of these also at stakeholder level, we are trying to address, because when we find that the otherwise the innovation is great, and there's a scope to monetize. But however, because of the operational and financial issues, we are not able to fund. We have been trying to bring in blended finance, and water.org has been the main partner. We have not only through technical support, but where we need even the kind of, you said, no, the help with all the documentation and all that. We have always reached out to water.org. It's like our, one-stop shop where we need to finance for WASH. So great ideation, and we'll try to take this forward. So then, Manoj, I'll come back to you again here. So water.org has been addressing WASH financing challenges globally. So based on your experience and the international trends and directions, I think recently you also attended the GIN and the COP. So what successful collaborative efforts or initiatives could be scaled up or replicated in our country to effectively address India's WASH finance challenges, do you feel?
Um, yes, the good news is that, you know, collaborative efforts and international and domestic financial institutions, the investor community has started to take notice of it. I wouldn't, I have to say the biggest credit goes to you, yourself, and to Nab Samriddhi, who actually went and after the NABARD, the 800 crore refinancing scheme, to pivot that into the smaller MFIs, bring them into the lending arm for WASH was a major step that happened. I also saw that, the way we have been able to bring in domestic funds coming in with the blended finance company, an initiative between ISC, NAB Water.org, which is bringing in around $50 million of investment for startups at an early stage, because that's the next step of platform that we need to really build. Anybody who's understood that the 11 crore toilets have been made, the 14 crore water connections have been made, the ecosystem is not strong today. And to bring that in and be part of bringing in a combination of commercial capital and philanthropic capital in a very good way, blending it out with this good TA support really changes the ball game over there. So it's a really good model that is coming up, and I'm very confident in the next couple of years we'll see a lot of success, new successes coming there. From the FI's place, the collaboration also is now becoming domestic investors like Northern Arc have started to take a key role into it. They've started to look into it. International, and as I talk, there's a list of new investors who are saying either through the ESG framework or climate framework, they are looking at it as saying this is an area to come in. So, people like ADB is looking at the desk one more time over there. KFWDG is looking into this issue. Blue Orchard is looking into it. And I encourage you to, and one of the interesting thing that is coming is in the financing, a part of that is getting dedicated, 10 to 20% is getting dedicated for WASH. And I think that's the message that we need to encourage both ways. The investor community wants to come in, needs to see the confidence, and we need to be asking for it, because this is something which addresses it while addressing the larger funds, the availability that needs to be immobilized. I also think that for the SME, there is a lot of effort that is happening in terms of ensuring that we are preparing our, and Smita, you spoke well about it, the fact that some of our small MSMEs don't even have the evaluation models established correctly. They don't know how to tap into the ESG one. So helping them build that scale, and I'm really looking forward to building with the FIs for their MSME programs as well as directly with the MSMEs, what it takes to bring in, attract the money. Because at the end of it, it's the ease of financing that is important. And like you said, most of the people, the startups are technical, they're geeks, they're the first time attempting it, and they don't have the access how to attract the fund. And so bringing that ease, I think, is going to happen in the next 2 years, and a lot more investments will happen over there. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I mean, things like bonds are now getting into a lot of playing field. We have a very recently, a blue bond was established in Peru. Small country, Latin America, $25 million blue bond came out. 2.2 times oversubscribed by mainstream investors. And they want to come in now with a second, like Blue Bond 2 wants to be coming in. If we work with people like NABARD and who are development banks who can come up with a very, open kind of a bond for this kind of a thing, and other subscribers come into it, it just shakes the market. It's like we've looked at it from refinancing. Now let's look at it from another vehicle to bring it forward. So that could be another way to do it. Thank you.
Superb, superb, Manoj. Those are excellent inputs, and I think this can be definitely explored. And even from the international experience, we felt that yes, most of the DFIs are also very keen on WashFin, but actually, ultimately, it is the grant that needs to come in, and there has been a lot of movement recently. Only we need to stitch up several deals that way. That's where the work is, and we are all totally motivated to take this forward. And now, on that note, I'll come to Ashwini again. Ashwini, how can banks align their lending strategies, PSL book, and CSR initiative to comprehensively bring equitable growth in society? This in absolutely we have done that. Our entire CSR is for WASH, whether it is to Sulabh for toilets in girls' schools, because it ensures that girls get enrolled and continue in school, because otherwise where there is a lack of a proper toilet, they just drop out. And the other one was through Tarun Bharat Sangh, which is the NGO run by Dr. Rajendra Singh, who is the Waterman of India. We have been able to work extensively in the field of water conservation and recharge. So I think this comprehensive view helps a lot, because then we are very focused on that. So what do you feel from the point of view of banks? Can they align their lending strategies in the similar way?
My personal view is that first thing, the PSL guidelines of the RBI needs amendment. Because today, if you see all WASH loans, it comes under the other PSL category, where banks have the last focus. So I think if a customer or a farmer who wants to build a toilet, he is definitely, and he's taking a loan for it, that means he should be definitely under the weaker section category. If any individuals who is taking a loan and making a toilet or improvement, a home improvement, all this should come under the weaker section. That is, I think, should be the first step
That is, I
in the
think,
policy
a great
level.
solution he's giving, because instead of going to RBI and the government and saying let WASH be a subset, we can say let WASH come into weaker
First
sections.
come under weaker section.
Only we have to prove by the weaker sections definition. So this can be explored also. This we can take up definitely with RBI through NABARD, whether this can be explored. Excellence.
Ideally, SMF category is where it should be. But if there is a pushback, even with weaker section, it will still work, because all weaker section is also has a subset of
Absolutely,
SMF, and
yeah.
that is where we should first
Yeah,
target.
and SMF again is very much farming. So when we look at non-farm, again,
Yeah.
WASH comes under non-farm. So I think weaker sections might work out better. Let's look into that. Let's go explore and go back to the the workbook, I would say. So now, Manoj, we have 7 minutes left. So we have two more questions. So yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Ganesh, programs like the government schemes, that is Swachh Bharat Mission and the Jal Jeevan Mission, have increased the demand for WASH loans among MFI borrowers. So how can MFIs be encouraged or supported to position WASH as a core part of their lending portfolios, if at all?
Okay. This is a very long answer for this question, but we'll keep it short. But I think this is already mainstream, in my view, for most MFIs, which are sizable today, because we've done a long vintage with this product. And a lot of MFIs have also started their diversification strategy now. So they are moving into home loans, they're moving into MSME. So we are getting exposed to a newer segment. So that also is something that is a new thing that we can work on when it comes to WASH. And when you have to really put serious efforts into this, you also have to work with the ecosystem. You have to work on building capacity. You have to work on building awareness among communities. So like you said, most companies today have serious budgetary allocation towards communities for WASH with respect to CSR. So we work towards lake regenerations. We work in schools for training children on the fundamentals of wash, right? So because it has to start from there. So we work with schools, we work with communities, we work with panchayats, we work with various stakeholders, we work with multiple NGO partners today who are extensively working towards creating this awareness amongst the community, amongst people who we work with. And I think, like all of us said, over the next few years, a lot of things would come in which are which are through innovation in this sector as we move forward. I think it is already mainstream for us, and we would put in a lot of effort to try and see how to move with the world. Yeah, thank you.
Superb. That's really amazing to know, and it's very comprehensive as well. So, Smita, the question to you now is that how have enterprises operating in the wash space leverage government schemes to drive innovation and expand access to sustainable water and sanitation solutions? So, just your bites on that.
Yes. So yeah, the Amrut has been very instrumental, I think, for innovators like myself because they've given us the opportunity to pilot in different parts of the country, and I believe there's a phase 2 now coming where we expand the network, which has been done through, I think, is being done by ASCII. And of course, the Har Ghar Jal and the Swachh Bharat mission also has definitely encouraged us in this aspect. But of course, I mean, in terms of incentivization, I would really request everybody here on this stage that, you know, we've had this personal situation where we've set up plants, we've done up pilots, but then the operation and maintenance for which is to continue for specifically for rural communities. They say, you know, everything is working really well. Like we set up this plant in Datoda village in MP, and they've been having we did it through WaterAid, and we set it up and we ran it for a year. And now we've got to know that it's not really running very well because the operation was with the panchayat. But they have a problem because of funds. Like who's going to pay the operator? Who's going to, I mean, even though it is at, it's a very nominal cost to maintain that plant, but they say they don't have the funds. So then what happens is that the whole impact goes for a 6 after a year. So, that is one thing I would really wish that it could, if that could be encouraged, because that would really create impact and keep it long lasting, basically.
I think what one issue we have faced is that most of the MSMEs and startups don't own the projects.
Exactly.
Which makes it very difficult for us to even finance them because there is again no primary security which
Correct.
is worth it. So they are mostly bought and not boot.
Exactly.
So I think there has to be a way in which it can be made boot,
Yes.
or have some kind of control over the asset.
Correct.
So that it can be also given as a security while the operations also,
because
like
that
it can
encourages them also to
Exactly.
scale.
Scale, yeah, exactly, yeah. So, any questions from the audience?
Am I audible? Yes. So my question is for Ganesh sir. Sir, firstly, thank you so much for championing WASH for the last 12, 13 years and being a role model for MFIs and banks. So it's a very short question on the uptake or the usage of WASH loans. So common notion would be that, WASH loans are something that would only go up in the rural areas and not so much in the semi-urban or peri-urban areas. Is that something you've also seen, or is that also a myth that needs to be broken?
Maybe somebody like Manoj or Ashwin is better positioned to answer this because we're a completely rural operating MFI, so we don't do business in semi-urban urban areas. But I'm sure, coming from a middle class family, and I do see that today also even in urban semi-urban areas there is a lot of requirement. Like we spoke about connection coming till the gate. For a lot of lower income households, taking it inside their home is still very, very difficult, right? I've seen this even in sanitation, even today, even in my hometowns, where I closely work with some of the communities there. There is a lot of scope even there, irrespective of whether it's urban or rural, is how I would position it.
If there are no other questions, I'll just request the panelists for their closing remarks. Anything you want to share, just 1 minute each.
No, I think I would thank this opportunity to come back here every year and speak about which is relevant topics for the sector, especially financial inclusion, especially WASH. For the last 3 years, I've been a part of this event, and I really cherish coming here and brings in a lot of focus into some of the core reasons of why we are in business, what are the most important things for the country, for the communities we work with, and I hope that this platform continues to deliver this success every year. Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you guys have an open mind to listen to MSMEs like mine. But the point is that yes, and I'm really happy to see that there are agents of change. You all are agents of change who are sitting over here, who are able to kind of between government and the finance and us to kind of help scale and to definitely include more women, not just in innovation but also in execution. So that is something I would be very happy to see if that happens. Thank you.
I think on the policy side, a lot more need to be done. That will obviously have a lot of fund flow to the sector and create more innovation. Even on the MSMEs who are working on the WAS side, I feel even if irrespective of the turnover and the investment in plant and investment, they should all be under micro category to push more funds and lower the cost of funds for the MSMEs. That I missed out because of shortage of time. Over to you.
Yeah, very quickly, I'm just very appreciative of the wind of change in the larger every year that is coming through. So grateful for Credit Access and Ganesh for your personal support to it and for being the pioneers. Without Credit Access, I don't think they are the ones who actually brought this to the mainstream. And to have above 5% of their portfolio dedicated for it. Typically, a good MFI keeps around 4 to 5%, but theirs is much bigger than that. Smita, for your MSME as a woman entrepreneur getting into a challenging world, that is so encouraging, and it brings us so confident to present that we do have change makers in the MSME segment. And then, as a banker, Ashwini, it's just encouraging to see how you stepped into this market and brought people to understand MSMEs, FIs to understand that this is something that you are ready to invest into. You're ready to take that risk. Incredible. And then again, Bonani ma'am for having brought NABARD from a point of where it was, yes, it is on our agenda, to actually becoming a key factor. You call it the one of your highest selling for Nabsmriti. What do you call that? Your starship, your starship program, champion program. That's what it is. I think I'm so thankful because we have a panel here. Each of us is in our own way, like you said, building the ecosystem, and it's just great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that was a great session, lot of action planning as well. And we are all dedicated to take this forward and see where it leads us, but definitely a lot of positive vibes for the WASH sector. Let's keep working together as partners and keep it going. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the panelists. Thanks to the audience for your
A
patient
big
hearing.
round of applause, yes, for the panelists, and not whitewashing anything, saying it like it is. Really like to thank everybody here, especially Bonani, for such a deft management of the session and navigating us through this discussion. Requesting our team to hand over a token of appreciation from our side, and then we will follow it up with a photo up at the front of the stage, please. Thank you so much, everybody. We will meet at 12 after the tea break. We have a tea break now, and we'll meet at 12 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you. The session at 12 o'clock is what the decade of JAM has achieved for women, challenges and way ahead. Look forward to having everybody back at 12 o'clock. Thank you.